When Ozzy Osbourne passed away, the world fell silent. Fans across the globe cried for the man they called the Prince of Darkness. But behind the fame and the tears, one family member struggled in silence. Jack Osbourne, the youngest son of Ozzy and Sharon. Jack had always been close to both his parents. Yet, after his father's death, he chose not to speak publicly for months. People began to wonder, what happened to Sharon? How was she coping with losing the love of her life after more than 40 years together? Jack watched his mother crumble in private. Sharon, once strong and sharp, seemed lost. She would sit for hours in Ozzy's old chair, holding the rosary he used to wear. The house that once echoed with laughter and loud rock music now felt empty. Every corner carried a memory, a story of their wild and unforgettable life together. Jack said later that even the sound of silence in that house was painful. While the world moved on, the Osbourne family didn't. Sharon's health began to change. She grew weaker, and her usual energy faded. Jack noticed that she wasn't just grieving emotionally. Her body was reacting to her heartbreak. He described it as watching my mom disappear piece by piece. But even in that darkness, he stayed by her side, quietly holding the family together. Fans expected Sharon to return to her talk shows and TV appearances, but she didn't. She stepped away from everything. For the first time in her career, she went off the radar. Paparazzi spotted her only once, leaving a clinic in Los Angeles, looking fragile, holding Jack's arm for support. Rumors spread online about her health, but Jack refused to comment. He said later that he wanted to protect her peace during the hardest time of her life. Jack's silence became his strength. While tabloids tried to twist the story, he focused on caring for his mother. It was the same loyalty Sharon had shown Ozzy through his worst days. Now it was Jack's turn to protect her. The world didn't see what happened behind closed doors. Sharon had lost her soulmate, and Jack had lost his hero. Their pain was quiet, but real. And soon, Jack would decide to finally speak. Not to the press, not to the cameras, but to the millions who loved his family for decades. He was ready to tell the truth about what really happened to his mother after Ozzy's passing. A truth filled with heartbreak, strength, and hope. In the months following Ozzy's death, Sharon's life became a daily battle. She didn't want pity, and she didn't want attention. For someone who had always been in control, managing Ozzy's career, running TV shows, and raising her children, losing her husband left her powerless. Jack said that his mother would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night calling out for Ozzy, as if he had just stepped out of the room. Jack watched helplessly as her spirit dimmed. She refused to eat some days and barely spoke. Her friends tried to visit, but she often asked them to leave. Sharon had always been strong in public, but in private, she was fragile. The woman who had faced cancer, betrayal, and fame now faced something she couldn't fight: the loneliness of losing her partner in everything. Jack started taking her to therapy, hoping it would help her process the grief. He also took her back to England, hoping that familiar places would bring her comfort. But every city reminded her of Ozzy. London, where they first met; Birmingham, where Ozzy's journey began. Even Los Angeles felt like a ghost town filled with memories. During this time, Jack became her rock. He stopped most of his projects and dedicated his time to being there for her. He cooked for her, walked with her, and made sure she took her medicines. Sometimes, he would play old Black Sabbath songs to make her smile, but instead of smiling, she would cry softly, remembering the man whose voice changed the world. The media kept asking for statements. Fans were desperate to know how Sharon was doing, but Jack stayed silent. He wanted her recovery to be private, not another headline. One night, after weeks of quiet, Sharon finally spoke to Jack about Ozzy. She said, "Your father always promised me he'd come back if I needed him, and sometimes when I close my eyes, I swear I feel him here." Jack said that was the first time he saw a spark of peace in her eyes. That small moment gave him hope. Sharon wasn't gone. She was still fighting, slowly finding her strength again. Jack knew then that it was time to share their truth with the world. Not for sympathy, but to show that even in pain, love never dies. After nearly a year of silence, Jack Osbourne finally agreed to speak publicly. He chose a heartfelt interview, not a flashy one, where he could talk honestly about his father's death and his mother's struggle. The interviewer asked, "Jack, how is your mother doing?" Jack paused. Then he said, "She's still fighting. Losing my dad broke her, but she's finding her way back." That single sentence made headlines across the world. Fans flooded social media with messages of love for Sharon and the Osbourne family. But Jack didn't stop there. He spoke about what it was like to watch his mother grieve, how hard it was to see her fragile, how strong she had been all his life, and how this time it was his turn to be strong for her. He said, "My mom has always been the glue that held us together. Now, it's my job to hold her together." Jack also revealed that Sharon had been dealing with health complications since Ozzy's passing. He didn't go into detail, but he hinted that her stress had affected her body. He added, "She's not sick in the way people think. She's just heartbroken, and heartbreak can make you weak." The honesty of his words moved millions. Sharon later watched that interview and cried. For the first time, she realized that Jack had carried her pain quietly, while the world kept speculating. From that day, things began to shift. Sharon slowly started appearing in public again, first for a charity event, then for a short TV appearance. Her smile was softer, but it was real. Jack stood beside her, proud and protective. As months passed, the Osbourne family began to heal, though the wound of Ozzy's loss would never fully close. Sharon, with Jack's help, started rebuilding her life, one small step at a time. She returned to her routine slowly, spending mornings in the garden Ozzy loved and evenings listening to his old demos. Music, which had once been too painful to hear, became her therapy. Jack encouraged her to talk about her memories instead of hiding from them. They often sat together and watched old family videos, clips from the Osbournes, red carpet moments, and home recordings of Ozzy playing with their grandchildren. Every laugh, every joke, every tear brought them a bit closer to peace. Kelly Osbourne also joined her mother in this healing process. She moved back home for a while, wanting to be near Sharon. The three of them, Jack, Kelly, and Sharon, became inseparable again, just like in the early 2000s when the world first fell in love with their chaotic but loving family. Jack took his mother to visit places that reminded her of good times. The small church in Birmingham where Ozzy's family used to pray, and their old home in Buckinghamshire. Sharon would hold Jack's hand tightly and smile through her tears. "He's here," she would whisper. "I can feel him." Through it all, Jack learned something powerful, that grief doesn't disappear. It changes shape. He saw how love could survive even after death. Sharon began to write again, journaling about her memories and emotions. Jack said those writings helped her let go of some of the pain that had been locked inside her heart. One night, she told Jack, "Your father wouldn't want me to stay broken. He'd want me to live." That was the moment Jack knew his mother was finally finding her strength again. Jack later said, "Mom taught me that losing someone doesn't mean you stop living. It means you live for them." That became their new purpose, to honor Ozzy by keeping his spirit alive. Sharon started working with Jack on a foundation to support young musicians, something Ozzy had always wanted to do. It was their way of saying thank you to the man who gave them everything. For the first time since his father's passing, Jack felt peace. He had watched his mother fall, and now he was watching her rise again. After nearly 2 years of silence, Sharon Osbourne finally appeared on television again. Her return wasn't about fame or talk shows. It was about love and resilience. She chose a simple interview and walked onto the stage holding Jack's hand. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. When asked how she was doing, Sharon smiled softly and said, "I'm surviving. Some days are harder than others, but my family keeps me going." She talked about Ozzy with warmth, not sorrow. "He was my soulmate. We built a life together that was wild, crazy, and full of love. Losing him broke my heart, but he's still with me. Every day, in every song, in every laugh of our grandchildren." People watching could feel her sincerity. She wasn't trying to hide her pain, but she was showing that it's possible to find light again after darkness. Jack sat beside her, proud and emotional. When the interviewer asked what kept her strong, Sharon turned to him and said, "This one. Jack saved me." Jack looked down, humbled. He said later that hearing those words meant everything to him. It was proof that all the silent nights, all the tears, all the prayers had been worth it. After the show, fans flooded social media with love and support. Many shared their own stories of loss and healing. Sharon's courage inspired thousands of people who were grieving loved ones. She became a symbol of strength, not the loud, tough manager people remembered from her TV days, but a woman who had faced heartbreak and chosen to rise again. Jack said, "My mom's story isn't about pain. It's about love, a love that outlives death." Today, the Osbourne family carries on Ozzy's legacy with pride. Jack continues to work on documentaries and TV projects, many of them dedicated to his father's music and memory. Sharon supports him behind the scenes, occasionally joining him for events, though she now prefers a quieter life. Their home is still filled with Ozzy's presence. His guitars hang on the walls, his records play often, and his laughter echoes in old recordings. But now, instead of tears, those sounds bring smiles. Jack says that every time he looks at his daughters, he feels his father's spirit guiding him. He tells them stories about their granddad, the rock star who loved family more than fame. Sharon often joins in, telling the girls, "Your grandpa may have been a legend to the world, but to us, he was just our heart." In his final words about the journey, Jack said, "When my dad left, I thought everything would fall apart. But I learned something. Love doesn't end. It just changes form. My mom is proof of that. She's living for both of them now." The Osbournes may never be the same, but their bond remains unbreakable. They've turned their grief into gratitude and their loss into legacy. And as Jack often says in interviews, "My father gave us music. My mother gave us strength. Together, they gave us love that will never die." Through all the pain and the healing, one truth stands clear. The Osbournes are still standing, stronger than ever, carrying Ozzy's spirit in every heartbeat, every laugh, and every note that plays in their home. The story of Jack and Sharon is not just about loss. It's about love that never fades, and family that never lets go.